Welcome back to the channel, guys. If you're new here, we're O2 Productions Co. We actually just finished filming some scenes for our first feature-length film, The Pitch, so check that out. And yeah, let's get right into today's video. So today's video, what are we doing?
We are going to be ranking every single Mission Impossible movie.
Every single
We
one.
watched every single one over the last few weeks, and we just dropped our review of The Final Reckoning just a few days ago.
Yep.
Prior to this video uploading.
Mhm.
And we wanted to rank them all since I had gone through them all. Just a quick thing, just prior knowledge, I hadn't seen a single one. So
Yeah.
this is all just fresh, one-time viewing, except for one that I will explain when we get there. But every other one I've only seen once, and he is much more familiar.
Yeah, I'm definitely a big Mission Impossible fan. I've seen all the films except for the newest one at least twice, so I'm pretty familiar in the whole aspect of it. So, yeah.
So the idea for this, very simple. We're going to start from the bottom of our list. We're each going to have our own individual list because they're probably going to be very different. Something really cool about this franchise, I think, is a lot of people have very different lists.
Yes.
So I think that'll be pretty cool and interesting. We'll have a bit of a discussion. We're going to be a little faster in the beginning with the worst ones just because I feel like there'll be more debate with the higher ones, and there's more to talk about with why we really like some of the best ones. And at the end of ranking each one, we'll say what our actual rating is as well. Okay, so after quick little deliberation, we'll just say, let's get right into it. So, number 8, the worst Mission Impossible movie, in my opinion, and I believe we agree on this, is Mission Impossible 2.
Yep.
He agrees. That might be the only place where our lists are the same, but we'll see.
Probably. I don't think there's a big debate on why this is the worst movie. I think all Mission Impossible and movie fans think this is the worst one. No offense to the Mission Impossible 2 crew. But,
John Woo directing. It was very much in his style. It felt very like Kung Fu-like, with the really crazy, like loud action. And it didn't feel as Mission Impossible immediately after the very first one.
Yeah.
There was still some of the spy stuff, but
more of a love
also the big thing that stands out to me is the motorcycle chase, which is kind of cool for most of the way. And then they jump at each other and collide.
I like that.
And I was audibly laughing. For me, that pulled me completely out. I was literally laughing as soon as that happened. Because I didn't know what was going to happen. And as soon as that happened, you don't want me to be laughing at your action.
Yeah.
Well, at least not when the action's happening. Like it's not that type of movie where there's some movies where you're laughing during the action, but that's not the type of movie this is.
Yeah, no.
And I think that's all I have to say for this one. My rating for Mission Impossible 2 was a 4 out of 10.
I gave it a 3.
Okay, so number 7, and this is already going to possibly be a very hot take because I've seen a lot of different views on this one, but for me, number 7 is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, aka Mission Impossible 7. I think I did not like the humor at all in this film. It felt very Fast and Furious. I hate the Fast and Furious sequels. All of the sleight of hand nonsense that you don't see that just randomly happens whenever they want it to. Hate that. And also I was just not super into a lot of the chases or the action for the most part. It wasn't the most interesting to me. The villain was also not great, which I will also mention when we get to the Final Reckoning about that. But I thought he was in the movie a lot, but didn't really bring much. And that's all I have to say about Dead Reckoning. What do you have at number 7?
I actually also put Mission Impossible 7 at number 7. I do.
Oh, okay. I thought you'd be much higher on that one.
Yeah, I did too, but not really. But I actually have to, after watching 7 and 8, I have to disagree with you on the villain. I think the villain is actually great because he's not like a typical villain where he inflicts pain on like the hero. Like physical pain. He inflicts like mental pain. Like he goes after the people he cares about. I'm like, that's a villain. Okay. I like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it just felt like the decline of what Mission Impossible really was. And again, he said it felt very Fast and Furious-y, which I love Fast and Furious, but like they do get a little too crazy later on. So yeah, it just felt like a more Hollywood blockbuster more than what Mission Impossible is.
Yes.
So yeah,
I agree. So my rating for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, and I will say this is the only other movie aside from 2 that I would give a negative review. I gave Dead Reckoning a 4.5.
I gave it a 5.
Yeah, it was actually not far off.
Yeah, it was just a mid movie. I was like, hey, okay.
Okay. So moving on swiftly to number 6.
Yes.
And here I am putting Mission Impossible, the original.
Oh,
The very
okay.
first one.
All right.
Look, it's solid. It obviously introduces the character of
Mm,
Ethan Hunt. It
decent.
has the spy thriller feel. I think a lot of the twists are weird and don't really work for me.
Mm,
Don't really like the villain reveal.
mm.
And there's just not the big stunt pieces that they started to get, which I personally really like. Did the franchise need that? No, but that's the way they went. And then, especially with that third act, the train sequence,
Mm.
the effects do not hold up super well. Although
Uh,
there are some really good moments in
that
there,
was
like the blade coming close to him.
1996. So
You do
yeah,
have to give it that a bit,
yeah,
but it did look really bad.
yeah,
But it felt Mission Impossible.
yeah,
I still had a decent time with it. The Langley sequence is really good still to this
yeah.
day, I would say.
Hmm.
And I do like the opening as well with the crew getting taken out, and that
Yes.
was a surprise right
Mm,
out of the gate.
yeah.
So overall, decent.
Fair enough. For my number six, I actually put the most recent Mission Impossible, Mission
Wow.
Impossible 8, The Final Reckoning. Yeah, I mean, just after watching it, I was like, well, first and foremost, it's the last one, obviously, but it just didn't feel like it was the last one. It didn't feel like a proper conclusion to Ethan Hunt. Like at the end of watching, I was like, oh, there's gonna be another one. And again, like the seventh one, it just felt like a big blockbuster movie and not at all. Like I said this in the review before, this was a great like action movie, but it wasn't Mission Impossible movie. So it just didn't fit the Mission Impossible feel, which is why I had to put it at number six. So
The only thing I would really argue there, I personally felt it was pretty final outside of the ending. So like
yeah,
throughout the runtime of the Final
yeah,
Reckoning, I
mhm,
thought it had the finality, and then the ending happened, and I fully agree.
yes.
That was the only thing. But
Mhm.
because most of the movie was good,
It did
that
tie in
that
things,
that
which I liked, but
yeah,
yeah.
that didn't bother me as much. But
Mm.
that's all I have to say for that. So for
Mm.
me, the original Mission Impossible is in sixth place, and I gave
Mm.
it a 6 out of 10.
Mm. All right, so Mission Impossible 8, I realized I actually had to lower it a little bit because of how my next one worked out. But Mission Impossible 8, I give a 7.
Oh, okay, you moved it down again.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
gonna,
that's fine.
it goes from an 8 to a 7.5 to a
Man,
7.
it's just getting worse.
It does. The more I think about it, the worse it is. It's just like it didn't feel like a proper conclusion in what Mission Impossible is. So but like I say, it was a great action movie, which is why it's still a 7. So yeah.
Okay. So, number 5 on my list is Mission Impossible 3.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so Philip Seymour Hoffman is the
Yeah.
villain. I think he gets a little bit too much praise. Not because of the performance. I think the performance is good. Philip Seymour Hoffman
Yeah.
was an absolute talent.
Yes.
But the writing of the character is not that interesting. Most of these movies don't have very good villains. I think most people know that for the most part.
Yeah.
So I thought the villain was really good. He is one of the best villains in the franchise, but I think that's the thing that props up the movie for a lot of people. Doesn't do it as much for me.
Mm.
But I do think Tom Cruise, this is the first movie out of the first three where Tom Cruise, I think, really stands out more in his performance. I think the first two, he was a little bit just there. He was kind of a passenger, I felt like. That was just my opinion. And Mission Impossible 3 had some really cool stuff with the family side as well.
Yeah.
So that's all I'll say for that.
Hmm.
What do you have at your fifth place?
Fifth place, I wrote down the very first Mission Impossible,
Okay.
Mission Impossible 1, 1996.
Just in front of where I put mine.
Just
Okay.
in front. The introduction to everything, I thought for what it was pretty good. I mean, you can't go wrong. It laid out what this franchise was supposed to be, like a spy movie. You know, Ethan Hunt just like beats everybody, super cool stuff, technologically, all that stuff. And yeah, I can watch it like every day. Not really, but I could watch it every other day. So yeah.
Okay. So for my rating for Mission Impossible 3, which is in my fifth position, I gave it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Solid.
Yeah. So the original Mission Impossible, I also gave a 7, like Mission Impossible 8. However, this 7 is better than the 7 before.
Moving on to number 4. Now we're in the top half of the list. And I'm going with Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
At 4?
At 4. I know that
Okay.
might be a bit
At
surprising,
4?
but
Okay.
I would say solid movie.
Mhm.
But for me, I don't fully get the hype around the Dubai sequence.
Oh, come on.
It's good. It's really good. But I think there's other stunts that have since outdone it. You'll see later in the ranking.
Well, yeah.
And I think the character dynamics are pretty good here, but again, the villain. Who's the villain in Ghost Protocol?
The girl, and then
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Not the greatest villain, and I just think the story as a whole is a little bit less than the higher ones on the list.
right.
That's all I got for Ghost Protocol at
Fair
number 4.
enough. Number four. I put Mission Impossible 3. Um, yeah, I just thought it was a good movie. I liked the fact that Ethan Hunt was kind of out of the game and had to be pulled back into the game.
That was good.
Because
Yep.
of like obviously his wife got captured, and he was like, "Okay, you take my wife, you're gonna find out." And I just like the action sequence of it. There was still some Mission Impossible aspects in it, and yeah, I don't know. I just like the movie, so I put it at 4. Yeah.
Okay. And so for Ghost Protocol, I gave it a 7.5, which is half a point above the one below it, Mission Impossible 3.
Mission Impossible 3, I gave an 8.
Oh, you jumped up a little bit there.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Nice.
I like it.
Okay. On to number 3, our top 3. Here it is. These are the big ones.
Top dogs.
And I mean,
Yeah.
you already got an idea of what's left. But for me, number 3 is going to be Mission Impossible Fallout at number 3. And this one, it starts to show the hints of the things I don't like from Dead Reckoning. Some of the humor here doesn't really work for me. It starts to feel a little Fast and Furious. Some of the action is at points pretty CGI heavy. I mean, obviously they still do the crazy stunts with the helicopters and stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Henry Cavill, I feel so mixed on. I
like
like
his
him as an
character.
actor for the most part, but his character was fine. It was pretty good, but I don't know. He was solid. He was good, not great. I would say. Honestly, it's a good movie. It's a very good movie, but it doesn't match up, I think, with my top 2.
Fair enough. We're at number 3,
Number
right?
3 on the list.
Number 3, I put Mission Impossible 4, which is Ghost Protocol. Yeah, I don't know. I thought what scene did you say? Like Saudi Arabia or something like that? Where is it?
Dubai.
Dubai? Yeah.
On the tower.
Dubai. I think that's like one of the best scenes ever. Jeremy Renner's character, Paula Patton.
That is a good group.
Yeah, I just like how that group mixed. Benji, of course. And everybody just working together. What I thought that was like what Mission Impossible was. And like it's like the buildup of what it is and the fact that they can do more with like a bigger budget. I was like, oh, this is amazing. So yeah, I put it at 3.
Okay. So for Fallout, I gave Mission Impossible Fallout an 8 out of 10. So half a point above Ghost Protocol at 4.
Fair enough. Mission Impossible 4, I gave an 8.5. So yeah.
Still rising. All right, number 2. What are our number 1 positions? Well, number 2 for me is Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning. It almost made my number 1. And I understand what you say about it not really being a Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is kind of the trajectory that the franchise has been going. And I think franchises can shift like that. And so because of Fallout and Dead Reckoning, which I think started the trend to be a bit more Fast and Furious, a bit more not the original Mission Impossible, less about the spy thriller, more about the action. That's basically what Final Reckoning is. And I think it does it the best out of all those movies. And also, I think it ditched all the terrible humor from Dead Reckoning. Thank God. I really did not like that, and they got rid of it. It's a much more serious movie that I like.
Yeah.
I liked the more serious tone to my Mission Impossible movies. Do I like a serious tone in every movie? No, it doesn't have to be. But for Mission Impossible, I think it fits better.
Sure.
That action scene, it has the best stunts, arguably in the franchise. I think it does. The submarine sequence is incredible. Not
for the most part.
Like the tension all the way throughout, incredible. Ethan Hunt is still invincible, but he is in every movie. That's something maybe I should have mentioned sooner, but Ethan Hunt is invincible in just about every movie, so that takes away from every single
Tom Cruise in general.
Yeah. And so I'm not a fan of that. The fact that he survives the submarine sequence makes no sense. I understand that. The villain, I think, is slightly better in this movie just because he's around less. And when he is around, he's basically just a mustache twirling, oh, I'm so evil, let me do evil things. And I am fine with that if he's not going to show up a lot. Like, if he's going to be like your main villain who's always showing up, like, yeah, it's better to have more depth to the character. But I didn't really like his character in Dead Reckoning, so they had him less in the Final Reckoning. That works for me.
Sure.
So that's my own opinion on that. and I liked when he was on screen though still because he was like laughing, he was cackling in the plane and stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was fun, and his death I thought was kind of silly, but it was also kind of funny, and I
Yeah.
felt like it was fine.
Yeah.
And the plane stunt is the best in the franchise, I think. The plane stuff was
He was
insanity.
Yeah. He was very good, but like
That being said, there's still some issues. Bringing back the guy from Langley was awesome, but still some issues in the movie in general with just Ethan Hunt surviving everything.
mm,
And this cast, I think they didn't utilize the crew nearly as much, which I will totally admit.
right. Yeah.
And I was not a big fan of that either. But still, very good movie.
Yeah, he should have. Yeah. My number 2, I put Mission Impossible 5, which is
Rogue
Rogue
Nation.
Nation.
Oh, okay.
Rogue Nation, I thought, see, I mean, if you haven't already guessed, you obviously know what my number 1 is.
Yeah.
But it's always a debate between those two of which one I like the best. But for Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, it was the introduction of Ilsa. Jeremy Renner's still in there. They used the the supporting characters a lot more in it, which I like. But Ethan Hunt was obviously like the big star. And I like the villain a lot. And just like the whole action sequence, there's still a bunch of spy stuff. There's a bunch of action stuff. That movie felt like what Mission Impossible is.
Mm.
Like, and I don't know why I didn't put it at my number 1, but yeah, I think that movie exemplifies Mission Impossible. So yeah, thinking
Okay.
about it, I don't know why it's at number 2, but we're gonna keep it there for now. But yeah.
Well, so before we get to our number ones,
Mhm.
for The Final Reckoning, I gave an 8.5 out of 10, which I say is a great one-time watch. Probably won't go back to it, but really great. I think it was half a point above Fallout at number 3 for me, which was only an 8.
Mhm.
What did you give Rogue Nation?
I gave it a 9.
Oh,
I
nice.
think this is an extremely great movie. Like one of the greats, obviously. So yeah.
Well, and I would agree with you on that because my number 1 movie is Rogue Nation.
Mm.
Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, I think I agree with just about everything you said.
Mhm.
It uses the crew the best. It still has the vibe of the spy thriller and all that, which I would prefer.
Yeah.
I want to stick to its roots. I think it does it the best. The introduction of Ilsa,
Mhm.
I really like Ilsa's character, and especially how she's used in Rogue Nation is easily the best
Oh,
out
yeah.
of all the movies she's in. They kind of just forget about her for the rest of the way.
Eh,
Rogue Nation, she's really compelling.
Yeah.
You aren't entirely sure whether she's good or bad. The introduction of the villain Lane,
mhm.
he's decent. Again, I
I
don't
like
love any of the villains in this franchise. I think he is one of the best, if not the best.
Mhm.
It's hard to say because he's good, not great for me. But
Yeah.
utilize the crew well, and Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin is almost a sleeper pick, I would say.
A little bit.
His performance in this movie is really good.
It is.
And I think his character is really interesting. The setups and callbacks in this movie, as well as the twists and turns, it has the feel of a spy thriller, and
Mhm.
it's compelling. And the opera sequence,
Mm.
really good.
Yeah.
The opening to reintroduce the characters with the plane sequence is really
Oh,
cool.
that plane. Yeah.
They had humor here in the right places that I think fits a lot better than like a Dead Reckoning.
Mhm.
And just all the pieces came together much better. There's still some nonsense with Ethan Hunt surviving random things.
A little bit.
There's still points where I'm like, oh, did we have to show this or do this? You know?
Yeah.
Not the best at times.
Yeah.
I think the finale is pretty good too with the bomb strapped to Benji. I thought
Oh,
that was
yeah.
pretty cool.
Mhm.
And yeah, overall it still used like the masks and stuff, and there's all
Yeah.
the stuff you want, at least that I want in a Mission Impossible movie. Rogue Nation did that, and it did it the best out of any movie in the entire franchise.
Fair enough.
Mission Impossible Rogue Nation is my number 1.
Okay. Yeah, so my number 1 is obviously Mission Impossible 6 Fallout. I know Dave said before that he saw this as like the glimpse of like the
Yeah.
commercialization of Mission Impossible, which I can kind of see. But like even still, it still had what Mission Impossible is, but added more of like drama into it in a way.
Mm.
Like there was more on the line of like, oh, this is like end of the world stuff happening. So like we have to do things a little bit differently, but still do it our way. And I like Henry Cavill's character, even though you thought he was kind of mid. Like
I wouldn't say he was mid, but
Yeah.
he didn't
I thought he was pretty cool. I liked him.
impress me a lot. But
And then there was still Lane in there.
that's right.
The
Yeah.
supporting characters were used I think they were used
Sorry.
pretty good.
No. The supporting characters are fine, but I was just thinking about Lane. I almost
Lane?
forgot about him trying to hang Benji when he could have just shot him. That bothers me. I hate it.
Oh,
Why is he trying to hang Benji? Why does he have to make a show of it? Just shoot him, please.
because
That sequence.
because like he
And then
wants
Ilsa
to.
gets out, and Ilsa's not used as well in that movie.
I
Sorry,
thought
sorry,
she was used pretty
sorry.
well.
I'm fighting you, but
Nah, don't.
keep going, keep
Nah,
going.
keep
You're
fighting.
cooking.
Nah, keep fighting. Because I don't know. I just like the whole. Oh, and Michelle bringing Michelle back. I thought that was very clever. I like that a lot.
Now that I understand how it works, it's fine.
It
I'm
is,
still
yeah.
not super into it because I don't like her just popping up. I wish she was kind of more integrated into the franchise. But it was cool what they did, and like the fact that her new husband's like actually like a decent guy.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times you see movies like this, they'll make him like some shithead, and it's like, all right, we've seen this a million times before.
Right.
But he was actually like a decent guy, and you know,
Mm.
it was cool to catch up with her. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The only thing that would probably make it better is if Jeremy Renner was in it, because I feel like his character could have brought like somewhat of like an odd man out kind of thing. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but like his character could have like brought them back to reality. Like, oh, this Henry Cavill is definitely John Lark, and then Henry Cavill could have probably just like killed him like he was supposed to be.
Mm.
And then Ethan Hunt's like, oh, I gotta get my revenge, but then everybody's like, no, that's not who we are, and all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought this was the best one because like if all that the sequencing and you really feel like, oh, there's something on the line here and they need to accomplish it or, everything's gonna go wrong. So yeah, it still had the Mission Impossible aspects of everything. So I just thought it was now I'm debating 5 and 6. But yeah, as of right now, I think this is the best one. It might change in a couple minutes, but we'll cut it out if it is.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll work it around.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that'll be it. My number one, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. So still
Oh, that's it.
a great one-time watch. This franchise as a whole just has some nonsense that I don't like. That's it.
I like it.
There's still some moments even in Rogue Nation that I think don't allow it to be a 9 or above, but still a really good watch.
Sure.
If I were to ever go back to one of these movies, it's 100% going to be Rogue Nation.
Rogue Nation. I get that. Yeah.
If I want my Mission Impossible experience. Now, if I just want like a really intense action movie, maybe I'd go to The Final Reckoning because I have them at the same rating, 8.5. But
fair.
for a Mission Impossible movie, absolutely, I'm going Rogue Nation all the way.
Yeah. So Mission Impossible 6, I also gave a 9. That's kind of like
the same as
Mission Impossible 5.
Yep.
Because like again, it's very hard to decipher between the two because they're pretty even in aspect. However, I'm not even gonna say it because I'm gonna debate myself again. But yeah, I gave it a 9. I thought it's a great movie. So yeah.
Okay, so that's gonna be it for today. That is our rankings of the Mission Impossible franchise. I hope you guys enjoyed. And share your ranking down below in the comments.
Yeah.
And let us know what you think. Tell me how terrible my ranking is. I'm sure John will accept that criticism as well.
No.
But yeah, share your thoughts. And if you haven't already, check out the pitch. Check out our other review videos. And we're going to have more coming your way very soon.
Yes.
So our little teaser for the next review we're going to be doing is
don't mess with a man's dog.
There you go.
If that gives you any hint.
I think that's a big hint. I'm sure they'll get that one.
I hope so.
Again, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. Check out our socials down in the description.
Yep.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. Stay tuned. Thank you.